So, what is a picture worth? 1,000 words, according to French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. But to the children of the Love of Patricia Orphanage in Zacatecas, Guatemala, a picture can transform lives. For this orphan, a picture is worth a pair of shoes, which he will use to walk to school and get an education so he can work, buy a home, and hopefully rise out of the poverty he was born into. For this orphan, a picture is worth a trip to the doctor to ensure she does not fall victim to the virus that murdered her parents. Not quite what Napoleon had envisioned. My name is Stephanie Engle, and I am the 16-year-old co-founder of RAISE, a nonprofit organization dedicated to benefiting the Love of Patricia, an orphanage in Guatemala. RAISE is a relatively new organization, but the idea for the cause has been years in the making. In order to fully understand RAISE, one must learn how one passion can lead to another. This story begins with a picture of a pony named Winnie and what that was worth to me. I was only 11 years old when my pony, Winnie, unexpectedly died on the operating table. His was my first brush with death. I was crushed. Upon returning home from the hospital, I dug through my belongings, searching for any reminder of him. My eyes welled with tears as I realized I had no pictures of Winnie. I feared forgetting any detail of his face and tested myself for days, ensuring I knew his blaze and soft eyes. When I couldn't remember, I felt I had let Winnie down. After days of holing up in my room, I resolved to do something to prevent others from experiencing the anguish of forgetting a loved one by preserving the images of their loved ones. And so, using my dad's Canon Sure Shot, I snapped photos at a horse competition Winnie and I had been scheduled to compete at. I loved my poorly focused, overexposed, downright awful photos and proudly gave them to the other competitors who thought I had a cute new hobby that would not last the month. But I was hooked. After scouring the internet for pictures I liked and falling in love with Annie Leibovitz's galleries, I naively told myself I could do this and strode outside to start snapping. Upon reviewing my results, I was shocked. My photos looked nothing like Leibovitz's. Realizing my passion had exceeded my knowledge, I began correcting my mistakes. A Google search on taking good photos led me to discover blogs detailing aperture and ISO, a foreign language I was determined to decode. Months later, I founded a horse photography business, Laughing Horse Designs, a name I had harbored in my head for years. To simplify the process of finding and purchasing photos, I taught my plucky 11-year-old self HTML coding and built a website for the business. Shortly thereafter, my photos went viral and appeared in national magazines. This angered equestrian photographers who escorted me off venues for hurting their businesses and forced me to close Laughing Horse Designs. Undaunted, I turned to a new muse, people. After shooting Erica, my twin and go-to model, I began realizing what details distinguish good subjects. My discovery inspired me to approach a friend, Mackenzie, who had ideal bone structure and a smattering of freckles that she disliked, but I adored. On a whim, we submitted my photos of Mackenzie to a modeling agency in San Francisco. Those photos launched Mackenzie's career with Versace, and she now struts the catwalks in Europe. The recognition my photos received was nice, but Mackenzie made me realize that my photos could do more, that they could just do more beyond helping me or making me happy or making others happy. I mean, they were becoming vehicles of change. With my earnings, I decided to support a nonprofit or an orphanage in Guatemala, and over the next 8 months, founded a nonprofit organization, RAISE, to legitimize and facilitate fundraising. Now, you may be wondering, why Guatemala? Why an orphanage? And why the love of Patricia out of all the orphanages? Well, after reading countless newspaper reports of the U.S.'s plight to help countries such as Iraq and Afghanistan, I decided I wanted to target the forgotten, so to speak. I knew I wanted to help orphans, for in a time of economic strife and political corruption, children, especially those without a proper place, are often an afterthought. I chose the love of Patricia in particular because a family friend, Tamara Hillstrom, had founded the organization as a tribute to her late mother, Patricia Hillstrom, who was this ardent supporter of human rights and just this incredible woman. But beyond its convenience, I decided to support the love of Patricia because I could see this orphanage becoming a template for other orphanages. I mean, at the love of Patricia, you know, we don't just take in a kid and hand it off to the family and say, you know, hopefully you make it and hopefully you make something of yourself. We aspire to do things like teach them to play the violin and the piano and do all these great things, maybe even speak at a TED conference. And, you know, I don't know, I just think that's incredible. I knew I had made the right decision upon visiting the orphanage in April of this year. Beyond the machine gun-toting men peering around every corner and the all too frequent dead bodies lacing the streets were the bright, hopeful faces of the orphans of the love of Patricia. We met one another as strangers, but we left in tears. Their lives truly touched my heart. During my stay, I snapped pictures of the children, along with other orphans and inhabitants of a junkyard in Guatemala City, where adults and children alike scavenged through heaps of trash to find food, clothing, and parts for makeshift homes. Tragic. Using these photographs, I am currently creating a coffee table photo book to sell alongside prints of my photos, which have raised thousands for the love of Patricia. With this money, the orphanage can fund the healthcare and education of the orphans who had previously not been able to afford things such as checkups or dentistry or even things we take for granted like notebooks and pencils. And I'm just really fortunate that we're able to do something like this. So that's it. That's how the death of my horse brought a dream to life and how that dream helped the lives of others. That's how one passion leads to another. But it's not just me. You don't have to be this virtuoso or great leader to do the things that I did. I mean, back when Winnie died, I was just this scared, shy little kid who thought life was over. If you had told me all those years ago that I was going to be taking photos and running this nonprofit organization and helping these kids, I would have said, no, that's not something I could or would ever do. But here I am. And you could all do what I've done. I know each and every one of you has a talent or a passion, whether it's piano or crayons. And learn from me and pursue that passion, that love. You'd be surprised where it can take you, how it can change your life and the lives of others. I know I was, and still am, baffled. Thank you for your time.